Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Travels with Kev podcast, the podcast that helps to get you started in traveling, whether you're an intermediate, learning to up your game, or a beginner just getting started. I want to help you get going. Today, we are going to talk about Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited. The Lakeshore Limited is a relaxing way to travel between the Gold Coast, Chicago, and the East Coast, or the other way around. This train lets you sit back and relax and sleep while you get to your destination. The Lakeshore Limited has 25 stops, plus some Amtrak connecting stops. The Limited is one of Amtrak's trains that split and come together during the route. There's an article in the show notes discussing that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. This podcast is going to cover the information you need before your next trip, or first trip, aboard Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited. I invite you to get a tasty beverage or snack as we talk about this beautiful train route. Just so we're on the same page, this information in this podcast is meant as a guide and may not reflect your experience, because Amtrak can change their services and offerings at any time, and they don't ask my permission. Actually, they don't need to. But anyway, why should you take the Lakeshore Limited? Taking Amtrak in general is a convenient, relaxing way to travel with some scenic views. On this route, a large portion of it is overnight, so depending on when you get on, you can plan to see on the beginning of the route and the end of the route, and sleep through the middle. Sometimes that's not a bad choice. Many of these train stops are in the downtown of the communities, unlike airports. So often you are very close to where you need to be once you arrive. Plus, it serves many small communities without access to airports or other transportation. So Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited and its connecting services are an essential part of the U.S.'s transportation system. So let's go over a few of the Lakeshore Limited's quick facts. The Limited, as of the time of this recording, which is June 2022, the Limited runs, and by the way, just before we go too much further, I'm through most of this, I could refer to the Lakeshore Limited just as the Limited, just to make it easier. The Limited runs daily in each direction. As I said before, the Limited does split and come together during the route. So going east, its train numbers are 48 for the Chicago to New York section and 448, or 448, however you want to say that, for the Chicago to Boston section. And the other way around, going west, it is 49 for the New York to Chicago section and 449 for the Boston to Chicago section. So the way that this train operates is that it either starts in Chicago, ends in Boston and New York, or the other way around. And so depending on the direction, in Albany, the train either splits or comes together. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. This train does have Wi-Fi, and there are spots along the route without any cell signal. I'll also put in the show notes my article on Amtrak Wi-Fi. It is cell-based service and not designed for watching Netflix, so plan accordingly. Like all Amtrak trains, you can buy your tickets online versus either the app or Amtrak.com, via phone, 1-800-USA-RAIL, or at staff stations or through some travel agencies. When boarding, you can use a paper ticket or your electronic device. Either way. Do not plan on buying a ticket on this train. If it's full, you'll get let off at the next station, and there could be additional fees. It's just better to buy them early. Food on the Lakeshore Limited. The cafe car's on the Boston side, so if you are leaving from New York and going past Albany or any of the intermediate stops between New York and Albany, I would bring some snacks aboard, especially if you're in coach. If you are in a sleeper, we'll cover that in the next section. But just bring something to eat with you. After Albany, the cafe car is open to all passengers, and it can be used as a lounge car. The cafe car carries grab-and-go food, and the cafe is open to all passengers. It is closed overnight and during breaks, but it does offer hot and cold sandwiches, plus beverages and adult beverages, and a few other sundries. The Lakeshore Limited uses Amtrak Viewliner equipment. This is single-level equipment. The accommodations include coach seating, roomettes, bedrooms, an accessible room, and at one point it did have business class. I heard it might be coming back, but at this time I don't have indications either way. I have ridden business class on the Lakeshore Limited before. It is a nice option. Amtrak does not have a check-in process like the airlines or TSA scanning, so you do not need to check in ahead of time. Boarding Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited. When it is time to board your train, prepare your tickets for conductors or attendants to look at and scan. Listen carefully to the instructions given by the station or onboard staff to avoid any confusion. This train is 2-in-1, so to make sure you get to the destination you want to make sure you are in the right car. Coach seats are assigned the day of travel as you're boarding the train, with the exception that if the train is not too full or towards the end of the route, you might be able to pick your seat, any open seat. After the train departs the station, the conductor will walk down the aisle to scan your tickets, unless they did it when you were boarding, and place a card over your head. This card saves your seat and indicates your destination. Depending on your destination, can determine the car you are assigned. Amtrak tries to group passengers traveling to the similar locations in the same car. Doing so makes it easier for conductors and staff to help passengers off the train with fewer disruptions for those who are traveling, especially at night. Amtrak asks that you do not change cars for better seats without first talking to a conductor. Amtrak also tries to put families and groups together. It can be difficult if everybody keeps spreading out. So try to stick to your assigned seat whenever possible. For sleeping car passengers, boarding for those, you will receive your sleeping car room assignment as you complete your reservation. Amtrak sends an email with a printable ticket, or if you log into the app, the ticketed information is there. On this train, all of the sleepers are not together. The sleepers are on the ends of the passenger car area. So the Boston sleeper is on one side, and the New York sleepers are on the opposite side. So make sure you listen to where you need to go, especially if the two trains are together. Car attendants or conductors should be outside of the car to help you and direct you into your room and into the right car. Usually, the car attendant will visit your room after the train takes off to help you get familiar with your room, the train, and the meals. Do not, like coach seating, switch to another room without talking to someone first, because the room that you might want to go to could be reserved for someone else down the line. If the train is busy or during mealtime, the attendant might have to grab a meal. So it could take them a little bit to come and visit you. But if you do have any questions, you can always flag them down. There's also a attendant call button that you can use. You will need some paperwork to ride Amtrak, and this is no different than if you're flying or most other transportation. So what paperwork do you need? There's two things you need. Obviously, you need your ticket. The second thing is a government-issued ID, such as a driver's license, passport, and the like. You can use a paper or electronic ticket to board the train. You could even pull up the email on your phone or tablet. Amtrak readers will randomly ask conductors to check the ID of the person. This hasn't happened to me yet, but it has happened to my travel companion, so it's just best to have things ready. If you are taking Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited from Chicago to New York end to end, it takes a little over 20 hours, and you will travel 959 miles. But if you're going to Boston, or obviously these are both the other way around, it takes 22 hours to go 1,018 miles between Chicago and Boston. Who owns the tracks that Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited uses? Amtrak, you may not know this, does not own most of the tracks that it operates on. So they use the track of other railroads. They're called host railroads. The owners of the host railroads that the Lakeshore Limited runs on are Amtrak, both in the part of the Northeast Corridor area around Chicago, Norfolk Southern Railway, CSX Transportation, Metro North Railroad, Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority. So sometimes if there is a delay, it's often one of their faults and not Amtrak's. Unless it's a mechanical issue, then that's Amtrak's fault. And if you are riding the train, there are several ways to check the train status, including the Amtrak app. You can also sign up for Amtrak status and text emails. If you go to the article that this goes with, I might not have said that before, but there is an article that goes along with this podcast. I have several links in there about how you can track the status of your train. Baggage on Amtrak. This is true for all trains. Checked baggage is not available for all stops, and if it is, you cannot get checked baggage, you can carry quite a bit of your luggage on the train. Just remember, you're responsible for your belongings while on the train. Amtrak has a very generous carry-on policy, better than any airlines that I know. It allows you to bring in 2 28-inch suitcases and 2 personal items. All bags must weigh under 50 pounds or less. Coach passengers can use a storage shelf above the seats or the luggage rack at the end of the car. If I remember right, it's on the opposite end from the bathrooms. Sleeper cars have a space above the door to store things. The roomettes and bedrooms actually have more luggage space than their Superliner, than the Superliner rooms. Bedrooms do offer more space than roomettes. There is not a place to put excess luggage outside of your room, like on the Superliner cars. And just remember that rooms only lock when you are inside. Check bag services. Again, check bag services not available for all stops. In the article, I have links to all the stations so you can find out if check bag services are allowed between both stations. And the app can help you with that information as well, the Amtrak app. But for example, if you're going between Chicago and New York, you can obviously check your bags. Another little trick, too often I start at Sturtevant, Wisconsin, and which does not have check bag service. So if I take the Hiawatha down to Chicago, I carry my bags on there, I can check them in Chicago and pick them up in New York. Just remember, if you check bags, you do not have access to them at all during the trip, just like when you fly, so don't pack any medications or anything important in them. And the other thing to remember is if you do want to check bags en route, like I just talked about, you need to do so 45 minutes ahead of time. Let's talk about food and alcohol aboard Amtrak's Lake Shore Limited. You can bring food aboard any of this train. If you want to be a good travel companion, though, avoid bringing food with pungent odors on the train, for example, egg salad sandwiches. And, as my dad likes to remind everybody, avoid crunchy food late at night. Due to FDA regulations, that's the Food and Drug Administration, you cannot bring food or drinks into Amtrak food service cars such as the sleeper lounge for sleeper passengers where they get their meals, a little bit about that in the next section, or the cafe car, with the obvious exception for food for babies and toddlers. Also, Amtrak cannot store, heat the food that you brought on board. If you need to keep medications cool, bring a cooler to store them in, and if required, Amtrak might be able to get you ice. You can bring, listen to this one carefully if you like adult beverages. You may transport adult beverages in coach class, but you cannot partake from your stash as you travel. Sleeper car passengers cannot bring adult beverages aboard and consume them in their rooms or their travel buddies' rooms. If you are caught being out of hand, you can get kicked off the train and fined. If you're caught partaking from your own stash in coach, you can get kicked off the train and could possibly get banned. Adult beverages are available in the dining car or the sleeper lounge for passengers with sleeping accommodations. All right, just as a reminder, the cafe car is available for all passengers, offering meals, snacks, and beverages, including adult beverages. And like I said, the hours may change. Listen to announcements. There is seating on both sides of the retail space. This little snack bar or whatever is right in the middle of the car. So there's seating on each side for you to hang out. But be respectful for others. Don't be a complete seat hog as available. This car does have a sleeper lounge, at least for now. This is for sleeping car passengers only. The Lakeshore Limited serves Amtrak's Flex Dining meals. These meals are hot and ready to serve choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plus cold and light breakfast options available. While eating, you can enjoy a selection of wine, beer, and spirits, and the first one is Amtrak for dinner. You can get unlimited soft drinks throughout your journey. Those include coffee, regular and decaf, hot tea, iced tea, milk, orange juice, bottled spring water, sparkling water, Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, and ginger ale. So if you want something other than that, you need to go to the cafe car. If you are in a sleeper car, if you are going eastbound, so if you're leaving from Chicago, there is no meal service on your first day because it leaves late at night. So for the New York section, you get breakfast and lunch, and for the Boston section, you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you're going westbound and you leave from Boston, you get lunch and dinner. If you leave from New York, you start off with dinner, and then you get breakfast and lunch the next day. And if you are in a sleeper in the Boston section, there is not a sleeper car lounge on either train 448 or 449 between Boston South Station and Albany. Sleeper passenger meals may be available from the cafe. Ask your car attendant to help you out with that. If you go to the website, which is linked in the show notes, there are layouts of the sleeping cars and of the coach cars. Little thing about the sleeping cars, there are new sleeping cars that have burgundy interiors. The old ones have the blue interior, the classic Amtrak blue. But if you have the one with the blue interior, there is a toilet in each of the roomettes. If you have the new one with a burgundy interior, there is a restroom for your car at the end of the car across from the shower. All the sleeper cars do have showers. The bedrooms do have a shower/bathroom in suite with a sink on the outside with medicine cabinet. All of the roomettes do have sinks in the room, which are actually extremely handy, especially if you want to brush your teeth late at night or early in the morning or whatever. There are fresh air smoking stops along the route. Fresh air breaks allow you to get off the train, stretch your legs, and get some fresh air, as the name implies. Getting off the train can add to your travel experiences, and your body may welcome the ability to stretch out and walk around on stable ground. These breaks often happen during crew changes, fuel stops with baggage service, or if the train arrives early, or, for this case, in Albany Rensselaer, where the train either splits or comes together. Just remember, not every stop is a fresh air stop, so don't plan on that. If you do decide to get off the train at a fresh air spot, follow conductor's directions and do not wander too far from the train. It is your responsibility to get back on the train in time, or it can and will leave without you. Often you'll hear a few blasts on the horn indicating that it's time to board, and the conductors will give you the all aboard. When you're walking around the train, first-train riders should know a few tidbits about walking around the train. It's not hard, but it's a little different what you might be used to. First off, trains are linear. I think that goes without saying, but I said it anyway. Meaning one car is in front of the other. You may need to walk through a few cars to get to the one you desire. The walk can be a great stretch for your legs if you've been sitting for a while, especially if you're in the back New York section sleeper car and want to walk to the cafe. There's several cars you'll need to go through. Remember, trains are moving and they sway as they go down the tracks. And there's sometimes some rough switches that can cause a train to sway a little bit more. So as you walk through the train, use the seat backs or luggage rack for support. Avoid stepping where the plates come together when passing between cars, and use the candy cane striped handrails for support. The aisle of the train is narrow and does not allow for two people to walk in opposite directions to pass simultaneously. If you have two seats to yourself, people may step into your space for a second to let another pass. Therefore, be courtesy of others when you walk through the train. Smoking and marijuana on the train, some people's favorite topic. You cannot smoke or vape any substance on Amtrak trains. The conductors can remove those caught smoking on board the train and issue a fine, and those are federal fines. And also remember, while marijuana is legal in many states, it is illegal to transport or consume it on the train because Amtrak is considered federal property. Everybody asks about bathroom and showers. Coach passengers. You can find 2 lavatories at one end of each coach car. If those are in use and you really need to go, you can go to another car. And there's also one in the cafe car. There are no shower facilities for coach passengers. Sleeping passengers, as I said before, each room contains a sink. There's a shower in every sleeper car that any passenger with sleeping accommodations can use. Roomettes may have as I said before, roomettes may have a toilet in the room depending on the vintage. And like I said, too, the newer cars, the restroom is across from shower at the end of the car, the opposite side of the bedroom section. You know the bedroom section because it bumps out. So a quick wrap-up. The Lakeshore Limited is a safe, relaxing, and fun way to travel to your next adventure. You can bring your food aboard or use the food services offered by Amtrak, or both. Amtrak cannot store, chill, heat the food that you brought on board, and as of now, coach passengers do not have access to the dining/sleeper lounge car. If you need to keep your medication cool, bring a cooler with ice, and Amtrak may be able to provide additional ice depending on their current supply. Station lounges. Sleeping car passengers leaving or passing through Chicago, the Boston South, or New York Penn can use the station lounge. All of them have recently been upgraded. Wi-Fi and streaming. This train does have Wi-Fi, and if you plan on using Wi-Fi on your journey, please read my article about Amtrak Wi-Fi. It is in the show notes. Just remember, it is cell-based. It is not secure. You cannot stream. So just keep that in mind. Traveling with electronics, bring an extension cord. This is very important. There are outlets in every room, or an outlet in every room. And also there are outlets at every seat, but they may not be as convenient as you want. So bring an extension cord. That way then you can plug in or unplug what you need to without disturbing your seatmate. Or be able to get them more conveniently. Besides the extension cord, bring your chargers, cables, and a battery pack to keep everything running. Use headphones for any noise-making devices, phones, games, iPads, tablets, and turn down or silence your phone, especially at night. Thoughts on bringing extra entertainment on Amtrak Lakeshore Limited. Amtrak provides scenery rolling past your window, but anything that you need beyond that is up to you. The right entertainment can help pass time, including books, video games, a good playlist, and podcasts, and more. I'll include in the show notes some entertainment ideas that I have for you. Something simple like a deck of cards can go far, and you can meet some new friends as you play Rummy or whatever game you might want to do. If you plan on using your phone, you might want to put on a few apps that may not need Wi-Fi, just in case you're in an area without Wi-Fi. Try downloading ebooks, and podcasts give you a variety of entertainment. I love learning from podcasts and audiobooks while looking out the window, and there's always the Travels with Kev podcast you can binge on. Most of all, bring your patience. I hope that this helps you to plan and enjoy your next trip aboard Amtrak's Lakeshore Limited. Remember, if I can travel, you can too. Experience comes from doing and not by reading and waiting. I hope this podcast gave you some value, and if it is and you want to join me on Patreon, there's going to be some new exciting things coming up, including webinars and other stuff. Just go to travelswithkev.com/value, and that'll get you the information that you need. And that's all I got, and so my niece Mackenzie will take us out. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Travel with Kev podcast. Bye.